take you home.
Hello and welcome to the Help My Unbelief podcast, the number one Christian podcast designed for the unbeliever. What's up, guys? I say, what's up, dudes?
It always
this
cracks
time.
me out.
What's up?
So this is our
You always mess with me when you love catching me off guard when you get things started.
But you were looking dead. I know you looked dead out at me too.
Brain went blank.
That's not uncommon.
No, it's not.
Hey, tell me that really cool story about the bees you were telling me earlier, dude. Actually, don't. I'll leave.
The difference in the aggressions between species of wasp and bees.
I'm out. No. Did you hear what he was saying? I was like, chill out, Steve Irwin. He corrected me. I go, hey, Larry, that job you're going to be doing this week?
Actually.
I said that this job you're going to be doing this week, I said, be careful, there's wasp out there. He goes,
no,
they're not wasps. They're
no.
Australian red fire bugs or something.
No, you said they were bees, and bees are not aggressive.
Do it in an Australian accent. Bees are not aggressive.
Bees are not aggressive.
Bees are not aggressive. They come from the South Wild of African Central.
You said they were bees. I said they were wasps.
Bees aren't aggressive.
I actually named the species of wasp that it was.
Just like dadgummit. I had a great comeback for that, and I totally screwed it up.
Uh-oh, he pulled a Larry.
Just like manta rays aren't aggressive, right?
Yeah.
Until they are.
Hey, like my old man used to say when I was a kid, so you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone.
Yep.
That's how he sounds, too.
Oh, that's pretty much true.
So let's introduce our guest this week. We have
a guest.
We have
I know,
Drew.
That's why I'm so excited, actually.
It would be like you to forget, but we do have a guest this week. His name's Drew. I want to kind of go over. This podcast is built on transparency, and I'm going to go over exactly what happened to get us here today. So normally we record on Wednesday afternoon at 2 o'clock, and this is Friday night at 7 o'clock. So
what do Christians do on Friday night at 7 o'clock?
I don't know about but me and Mark usually get together and chug vinegar.
Friday. That's right, man. Crank us some. That's right. Get our bagpipes out and go marching and drinking.
And Drew actually
nipple
knows.
tassels.
Okay. Dude, that's Saturday night. So.
Yeah. Hold on.
Drew actually knows what I typically do about sunset on Friday nights.
Yep. He's usually out there sweating, mowing my lawn.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. He lives right behind Ken.
Okay, so before I lose my train of thought, hold on a sec. Okay.
Uh-oh. There's a train here.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the derailment?
So do you remember? No, I don't care. You remember the episode with Indy, right? We had to reshoot that one.
Yes.
And then there were some things that she was scared to tell us in the first episode that came out in the second episode. She actually her kid was murdered by a witch coven back in the day. And she didn't tell us that in the first episode. She was afraid to do it because she's still going through the trials and everything. I think it's going on like right now as we speak, but anyway, so we knew that God had a purpose of us reshooting that show, right? And so, we
didn't at the time.
Yeah, we didn't at the time,
but we learned that.
So in this episode, we interviewed this atheist named Pete. He's a 19-year-old atheist. And the whole episode, I kept saying, look, you guys know how I am. Just live on the show, I was saying that the energy felt off and something felt off about it. I didn't like it. I felt very uncomfortable. I felt like we all kind of got triggered and uncomfortable, and we kind of interviewed him. I think mainly because, like, here's the deal. Like I told you guys before, I was like, I don't know how you guys respect me at all because I'm so much younger than you. And then I kind of treated that kid the way that, like, I figure you guys should treat me probably.
Oh, so we need to start treating you that way. Hey,
no.
We just got permission, didn't we?
You want your kneecaps, you better not. You get one of these in the kneecap.
Remember, I pack.
I would try to punch you in the face.
I think where I got off track was, we stated this show isn't Christian apologetics, and then
we did it.
And then we did it.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like we did.
I did. I started. I did.
Well, I honestly thought it was me. I thought in the beginning that I really is the one that was like, well, but haven't you, and I kind of started arguing.
I was just grateful that
Yeah, for once,
he didn't
Larry.
turn all his frustration at me,
Right.
blaming me for the whole thing, because I was like sitting over here all innocent.
No, you were. Yeah,
No,
you
yeah.
were.
Hey,
Larry was
hey,
the only one that really
hold on a
behaved
second.
himself.
Hold on a second.
Not me.
I want to say this because Larry's usually the one that I have to take to the side and be like, Larry, no.
Yep.
And then, but in this episode,
No, it was
Larry was
Mark
sitting
and
over there
Zach.
with his pen going, is Mark and Zach ever going to stop arguing with this guy?
Yeah. I just wrote notes.
But anyway, and I ended up apologizing to the kid at the end of the show, and I said I'm sorry, and well, anyway, we got done watching the show, and at the beginning of the show, Mark stopped and said, "Hey Zach, our backup recording, because we have one recording and we have a backup one."
Right.
And Mark said, "Hey," at the very beginning, he said, "Backup's not recording; it's full. What do you want me to do?" We have never had to use the backup recording ever. And so I said, just run with it. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And he was like, okay, cool. And I wasn't worried about it. Well, it turns out our first recording wasn't plugged in. So we after we shot a full 2-hour episode and it was gone.
14 minutes of audio.
Yeah. And we had about 14 minutes of audio. So we,
And guess what? It no way could be my fault because
Right.
I am the only one here that does not have
Yep.
any technical skill.
Oh, Larry, just stop it.
And so
Stop it.
And so I ended up storming out of the room. And saying, we're not putting an episode out this week. I'm done. Forget about it. I almost threw a chair through the window in the lobby. No, I didn't almost do that. But I thought about it. I actually probably would have de-stressed me a little bit. if I
No, it
would've
wouldn't
done
have,
that.
because then you'd had me all over you.
Yeah. Oh, I would have ran. I run for a reason. But
You
anyway.
wouldn't run fast enough for that one.
But
I don't
anyway.
know, man, I think he might. I know you got a big long stride, but I think he might be able to outrun you.
But he's only got about 3
You
of them.
haven't
That's
seen
the
me
problem.
throw.
Oh, I got to throw a brick.
So anyway, I went to church that night. And our friend Drew over here, who is a former atheist, he's been going to church here. How long you been going to church here now? A couple months,
Yeah,
maybe
about
6
3.
months.
3.
Yeah.
2.5, 3 months.
Yeah, right around 3, I think. And well, we don't really look at him as a former atheist anymore. And we're sitting there talking, greeting each other because we're both in church and stuff like that. And it clicked. I go, oh my gosh, your backstory is almost the same exact story as Pete, the one we're interviewing. And I said, we're going to re-record the show and you need to be here for it. And he said, I'll be there. And so, yeah.
With a few exceptions. Drew, how old are you?
I'm 33.
No
33,
way.
yeah.
Dude, I should have
Okay.
took better care of myself. That's crazy, dude.
Yep.
We're almost the same age. You look like you're in your mid-20s. That's not...
I
Yeah, no
appreciate
kidding.
that.
Have you ever done drugs?
A lot of hard drugs.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's stupid then.
Mm-hmm.
Why did I do drugs and look like this and he did drugs and looks like that? That's not fair.
Just another thing I have to be thankful to God for.
Yeah, there you go.
I have a theory about that, but I'll tell you.
No, tell me. Tell me now. Tell me now.
Well, he may have done more hallucinogens than you.
Have you ever done a hallucinogen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. We interviewed a guy a couple weeks ago that did hallucinogens and like literally conversated with demons. Has anything ever like that happened to you, like spiritual?
No, I wouldn't say with demons, but definitely hallucinogens definitely did not work on me too well. I was usually crying and usually in some kind of distress.
Bad trip.
Really?
Every time, always a bad trip.
Yeah. I feel like I would too because I'm a really like anxious individual. I feel like I would be bad for me too.
You know, actually, I've gotten to know you a little bit outside the church even, and that kind of surprises me, to be honest with you. I would have not thought that lifestyle was
Part of your
your cup
story?
of tea.
Right. And I think that's the reason why I could get away with it for so long was that I was the guy that no one expected who was a closet heavy drug user. So
Would you say it got to the point where you like where you were like addicted?
oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean I've been to a couple rehab centers.
Oh,
Really?
cool. So you had to go through recovery. I did.
Mhm.
I got
Yeah.
coming up on 11 and a half years sober.
Let's
Congratulations.
go, dude. Nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just passed 2.5 years.
Far out.
Wow, awesome.
What did you recover from? You did narcotic analgesics, huh?
Oh,
well,
yeah. Oh,
you
yeah.
did pain pills.
No. Speed, man.
Oh,
I was all about methamphetamine,
Yeah.
cocaine. Yeah. Anything that sped me up slowed me down.
I think that'd probably be my drug of choice.
I guess I was an idiot. Because, I mean, like, truthfully, first off, listen. Hear that?
You couldn't do
First
coke.
off, yeah.
doesn't-
I had friends, here, try this. I'm like, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah, and plus sniffing's such
Yeah.
an inefficient way to
Right.
do drugs.
But all I did was, my aunts were in Teen Challenge, and I watched all those videos of the
Right.
60s of the shooting up and throwing
Oh,
up.
yeah.
That marked me for life. I was never going to
I
happen.
thought it was so funny when I grew up around drugs. My literally the first time I ever did meth was with my mom when I was 14.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. So
Wow.
So I grew up around a bunch of drug addicts, and I think about it now, and it was so funny how they place so much value on shooting up. Like they would literally be sitting there smoking an 8-ball of meth, passing it around, and then talking crap on people that railed it. I was like,
right. Yeah.
Right.
like, well, wait
Well,
a
you know,
second.
there's levels of addiction, right? You
Right.
know, and I'm a cleaner addict than that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Extra.
at least
Yeah, that
we may
sounds
be
like-
railing an 8-ball,
Yeah.
but at least we're not doing that.
Yeah, I never did. I
that
never
sounds
did
like-
shoot it. I couldn't.
That sounds like alcoholics,
courageous
comparing themselves to the ones that drank it neat or they're on the
Right.
rocks.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
He drinks on the rocks.
You drink it straight. You both drank a half a bottle, Ted. It
Doesn't matter how you put it in
Yeah.
your body. You put it in your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He drank a half a bottle a day. Yeah, well, honey, you were drinking 3 bottles of wine a day.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and then I mean, you can look at it this way. Well, I wasn't drinking as much calories with the Coke and sugar and stuff like that. I was just, just a clean little cleaner.
No, I can't say that.
Splash of soda.
I would be like this with Crown, and then this with Coke,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
just so I could say I'm not an alcoholic.
Mine was show it the bottle of Sprite and scare it.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Show it the
Yeah.
bottle of
Yeah.
Sprite. Scare it.
But no, I mean, I used to smoke the joint and take bird eggs.
Ah,
What's
yeah.
that?
So speed.
Speed. White
okay.
crosses.
So yeah, the
But-
black mollies, white
Black mollies,
crosses, bird eggs,
Yeah.
they were all speed. But looking back, I didn't realize I'm doing a downer and an upper at the same time.
Right.
Is
Yeah.
this a Christian podcast?
I know, right? Well, it just
Well, I
goes
believe
to
it
show you
is.
that
Hey,
it's amazing
we've
where
come
Christ
a long
can,
way.
Yeah.
can
yeah.
take you from
We've-
where you were
Yeah.
to a whole different
Yes.
reality.
We have come a long
Praise
way.
God.
All of that was dependent on
Freedom.
the world
Yeah.
to fill the void
Amen.
Yep.
that we
Yeah.
all have inside us.
So Drew, I want to get into your testimony a little
Yeah.
bit. So
Well, what brought you to
So-
the Lord?
you were an atheist, right?
Yes, before coming back to
And how long ago were you an atheist? Like 4 months ago, you were you're a full blown atheist,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So I would probably say I would start calling myself an atheist probably about when I went to college, 18, 19 years old till now.
Same as that kid that's
wait.
you're fixing to talk to. Same thing.
It's just like bingo.
Would you say that college is what helped pull you away from Christianity?
I think definitely, yeah, but there was a lot of things that I was doing early on that didn't mesh with,
Your belief
Christianity
system,
and my
yeah.
belief system, and so it was kind of that dichotomy that you were living in. That was just like you kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and you had to choose a side, and I chose the side that I thought was right at the time, which ended up leading me down a world of hurt for sure.
So 4 months ago, when if somebody would have started a conversation about God, what would you have said about God?
For me, I mean, it was because I had experience like in religion with God and stuff like that. I would never be the one that just like riled and discussed, but would I want to partake, or usually I wouldn't put myself around many people that wanted to talk about God. You know what I mean? I
You'd
just
probably
didn't
like
associate with
you'd entertain the conversation, just not to ruffle any feathers, but you didn't really believe.
Right. No. And I mean, that's because, I still come from a semi-religious family, but from my grandparents' side, definitely very super religious.
Did you ever tell them that you didn't believe in God anymore?
No.
No, you kept it to yourself pretty much.
Yeah. And so, I mean, they knew I wasn't going to church. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they knew in their own sense, but just out of respect for them and their belief system.
You didn't tell him?
No.
That's how Atheist Ask was. How there's some of his family that he didn't tell. Just he didn't want to ruffle any feather.
I mean, I've met plenty of, atheists in my time. You have the ones that are very pushy about it. Like, like God's not real. Like, everyone who believes is an idiot. I'm kind of more. I was more the laissez-faire. Like, you know what, you can believe whatever you want to believe. This is my walk.
Yeah,
that's your walk. Keep it over there. I'll keep mine.
Yeah, So you weren't a very vocal atheist.
Share with us. I mean, because what religion were you raised?
I was raised Catholic.
Raised Catholic here in Oklahoma. Are you in Okie?
Yeah,
okay.
I was born and raised in Tulsa.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you were raised up in the Catholic Church.
Correct.
And basically, after you went to college, you kind of wandered away from the Lord.
Yeah.
Share with us, because it is very difficult for my mind. I was raised Pentecostal, and I walked away from the Lord.
Right.
And I went and did my own thing. Well, I mean, we just talked about some of the stuff that I did too. Yep. So I never lost.
He never fully was doubted. Like God isn't real.
Yeah, right. I never doubted.
But
that
he
there
didn't
was a
serve
God.
him in his actions.
Right. So in that sense, I've always been interested in science and everything else, and so I think more of my studies and the people I was associated with, my degrees in biology and chemistry. So I've done, I've a deep background in evolution, genetics, all the things, and so it never meshed. That it just didn't make any more sense to me to believe that there could be a divine power out there controlling everything. And especially, when I could utilize my free will so easily, right? And I wasn't seeing the signs or recognizing the signs of my life that there was a God out there.
So you switched that. Why? You switched that from seeing, or you said seeing to recognizing. You switched your verbiage there because now that you're a Christian, I think I know why. Because now that you're a Christian, you look back at that time and realize that God was there the whole time.
Yeah, I think it's easy to see when you can start looking at God through that lens that he is alive, breathing here with you in all times and spiritually in your soul with you at all times.
Even then?
Yeah. I think you could probably talk to a lot of people. There's plenty of times in my life where I shouldn't be here, and I got on. Definitely. I could count on hands and feet at 33 years old how many friends I have that are either overdosed or murdered or and we're not talking about street kids. I knew those two. We're talking about middle America. The generation that I was in kind of was a resurgence in the dangerous drugs again, and people were just dying left and right.
Yeah, especially from when the narcotic analgesics came around, like the pain pills and the heroin.
And that was my deal, right? So, pain pills were readily available when I was in high school. I mean, everybody and their grandma had a whole cabinet full of any opiate you could ask for. Or
I hadn't even heard of them in high school. I didn't even know they existed.
Right, and
that's
so
crazy.
For me, you sprained your ankle, you go to the doctor, you got 10 Loratab.
Yeah, back then they give them to you like easy.
Like
candy.
Tylenol. They're giving them out like candy.
I've taken Loratab legally.
Yeah.
I'd never found them to be an exceptional drug.
Well, I hear you. And
they
I think
barely get rid of the pain.
I loved them.
That's why they call it a drug of choice, right?
Here's ibuprofen 800, and here's a Loratab.
Right. I developed a problem on them too, but I went to this doctor in my mid-20s. And I had I'm currently in a lawsuit with a hernia mesh company, and my hernia mesh migrated, and I've got like a bunch of severed nerves down there, and they're like, you need 100 pain pills a month for this.
Right, of course.
And I'm like, really? And then I remember I was taking them no matter what, if I was in pain or not. I had taken them literally multiple times a day. And when I popped one when I wasn't in pain, I was like, you got a problem. Right. Like, this is a problem.
And I think most people don't realize too is that there's a big difference between like addiction and then being physically dependent upon a substance. So addiction's a certain set of people are going to get addicted. There's only a small subset, but the dangerous thing about the opioids is that every single person who takes them will become physically
No
dependent,
matter what.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Hey,
Yeah.
Drew, it's kind of a philosophy I have. We have a lot of people on this show, and you know, I see these young people that are deconstructing, that are falling out of their parents' religion, effectively.
Yeah.
Do you think the catalyst for you was powerlessness?
Oh, 100%. I mean, and I can trace that back to, you know, what was going on in my own home, right? So, I mean, I think you see a lot of the things, so we can talk about the epidemics in America, about everything, right? Marriage, divorce, you know, all the things. And so that all went through my family, you know, and so it's hard to reconcile for a lot of these people, right? Is that, oh, you know, my parents, you know, oh, they want to go to, they're in church all the time. They're flawed human beings just like all of us.
Right.
I don't place any blame upon my parents whatsoever. I made the choices I've made, but you see your parents in a different light as you grow older, right? So when you're younger, you see your parents as infallible. They can do no wrong. And then you start with grace, realizing they're just humans, just like, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't use grace.
Every child,
Sometimes we just think they're idiots. Oh,
Yeah, I
no,
know,
they're not as
right.
smart as I thought they were.
Yeah.
every
exactly.
child hits
I mean,
that
that's-
point of from, you know, adoration to judgment.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and usually it's somewhere in the teen years.
Yep.
My kids definitely went through that.
Right.
And I earned every bit of it.
Well, what I meant was the catalyst from your atheism back to Christianity.
Yeah.
Was it personal powerlessness?
Yeah.
Did you hit? See, like for me, it was I was raised a Christian, and I was like you. I didn't want to be around them because I knew what they were. I knew what they were talking about. Like Larry said, I knew it was all true. I just didn't want anything to do with it.
Right.
I had too many things to do. But then I did those things, and those things brought me to my knees.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of curious if maybe that was what the catalyst for you was.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And I've been at many points. So, you know, 2.5 years clean and sober, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been at many more low points in my life, physically, monetarily, all these things, spiritually even. But 3-4 months ago, you know, my life was, I mean, I wasn't even using drugs anymore. My life was literally at the lowest point.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
What was going on, if you don't mind sharing?
So, so me and my wife, Jennifer, we were actually married just back in May,
Oh.
right after we came to the church, pretty much, probably about a month or two after we came to the church. And our relationship was just, it was throttled.
Mhm.
We had reached the end of our relationship, mainly due to my choices throughout. So we had been together for 8 years. So
Oh, wow.
yeah. So me and Jennifer,
Lots of water under that bridge then.
yeah, and she's been through the trenches with me as far as addiction, up and down, and been with me through 3 really bad relapses. And so, I mean, just seeing the writing on the wall, she was done. You know, I have a 2-year-old daughter.
Love Evie.
Yeah.
Love
With
Evie.
her, that's right. Okay.
That
Yep.
girl is smart as a whip, man.
So she had been through the all this stuff with you, and then she was just kind of done with it.
Yeah, and she was reaching her spiritual end of her rope too. I mean, we were 2 lost souls.
Was she wasn't an atheist, but she was kind of on her way out?
I wouldn't say an atheist. She just didn't want any part of formalized or organized religion whatsoever. She was raised to know God, but she was never baptized. Her parents were never super religious or taking her to church. So she was like God associated, but
So agnostic, effectively.
pretty much, yeah. She knew there was something, and she called it God, you know, what she thought of as God, but it's totally different than probably what she sees today, for sure.
But so you guys were technically at a rock bottom, essentially, of like together.
Yeah.
And is that what drove you to find a church?
So, like, I don't want to associate it with like my wife found religion and spirituality or whatever, you know, came to the church. She actually came first at the bottom of it, and she basically came to me and was like, you know, like this is what I'm doing. And to be honest, that's when Satan was working on me the hardest, and that's what really drove me down. Was when my wife, or at the time, my fiance came back home to me and told me that she found God. That's going to be the center of her life and Evie's life. And that if you didn't want to be a part of it, she could easily discard me. You want to talk about Satan flowing out of me. Oh, yeah. I mean, I exploded.
You were mad, yeah.
Mad.
Yeah.
Angry. How dare you choose God over me?
Right, yeah.
Like, how dare you?
Didn't you come to church and you you came to church with her once and you like confronted the pastor and was like, hey, I don't believe in this crap.
Well, that was the plan for sure. I think I went into it like this is another hokey church, thing.
Yeah.
And a phase for Jennifer. I think that was...
You were waiting for it to phase out, yeah.
Just like another one of your arts and crafts.
Right.
Right. You'll be back.
For 2 or 3 weeks.
You'll be back.
Something else.
I'm always that type. Like, okay, you want me to see and find out? Like, I'll go because of what, the pastor had been saying to her and stuff. I was like, you're not going to tell my, all these things. I felt like they were filling her head.
They were against you. Yeah.
So I came in and I didn't get that reception. So it really just like struck in my heart right when I walked through the doors and saw the pastor and talked with him for just a minute even. I was just like, okay, I'll come in and listen.
You'll entertain it.
Yeah.
And then what was the catalyst? What was the moment that you're like, oh wow, God's real and I think this is the way, I think I should put him first in everything I do. What was the moment?
It was during that service, and when I could finally I'm a very introspective person. And so when I could just sit and tune everything else out going on and stuff, I could finally re-listen to, God speaking on my heart again. And I feel things very deeply and emotionally. And so it's more like an emotional welling up. I would, and I just had this welling up of emotion. I just broke down. I couldn't take it anymore. I was crying and
yeah. You felt the Holy Spirit.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that's what's interesting for me, growing up Catholic. I mean, we believe they believe Father, Son, Holy Spirit. But like Holy Spirit to me didn't really ever connect or really mean much.
Me neither. When I was growing up, it didn't either. I didn't even like process it as a thing that was actively inside of you and stuff like that until I came to this church. And then you learn that it's like literally the resource that Jesus sends you to be able to live your life as a Christian. Right. And so I didn't either. I was the same way.
Well, and that was my thing, is that it's kind of it's been interesting to come to a church where I feel definitely much more in tune with God, walking hand in hand each day versus being something that's more of just an idea. Right?
Yeah.
Or just something that's watching me at all times.
Just do this because this is what your parents told you, or this is what the church tells you to do. Go through the motions, religion, essentially. Yeah. This is actually a church where they help you facilitate a relationship with God.
Yeah. So, and, I think I don't ever want to say, because, growing up Catholic, there's plenty of people that have great relationships with God and stuff like that. It just didn't connect with me.
Same. That's what I say about Southern baptism is like, I don't like, I think I owe a little bit of like I may not be the Christian I am today if it wasn't for them. That's just not my thing anymore. You know what I mean? That's not how I want to worship. But I think there's going to be a lot of Southern Baptists in heaven, and there are probably going to be some Catholics too in heaven. So, so I'm not saying that. It's just not, that's not what, like my goal is to grow my relationship with God, and I feel like that this church is the what adequately helps that the most, Yeah. So
first off, sorry.
First,
yeah, I know. First off, one of the things that we all need to remember is it is not the religion that gets us into heaven. It is the relationship with Christ.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Yep, sure is. It absolutely is. And that's what I love the most about here is like you could tell it was different. Yeah, I mean, I could tell it was different the moment I walked through here. We knew the first time we came, we was like, this is it. We knew it was different than anywhere we had ever been.
I could say the same. I don't know. It's just, it really was for me. It was different than a different feeling than I've ever walked in somewhere.
So how's life changed for you now since you've received the Holy Spirit and you've put God first? How's it changed now?
For me, of course, getting married,
All right.
God blesses, marriages, especially so when you're living with him and not apart out of his grace. But truthfully, I mean, just being able to recognize the blessings in my life each day is a huge difference for me, mainly. And then I think, the beautiful thing is there's just more to come for me.
Yeah.
Because although, I want to grow that relationship. And so something that I didn't get a lot of, being raised Catholic, right, is that we didn't study the word a ton. The Bible in the Catholic Church is read to you.
I heard that. Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
So there's not a big onus, or there's not a big push within the church usually to do a lot of Bible study on your own. It's not that people don't do it. It's just that the church isn't going, hey, you need to be in your book, in the Bible all the time.
Yeah.
And
I've noticed Amish is like that, Catholic, Mormons, a lot of those people say, hey, we never read the Bible. It's read to you. And then they'll twist the ideas to get you to kind of, to see it the way they see it. They don't encourage it,
Right. So it's a lot like a sermon in any other church. It's just that it's more, direct, right? So you read your 3-4 verses during church. They read them to you, and then they have a sermon.
Yeah.
That somehow ties into
those verses. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Which is similar.
Okay, we're at 31. Let's go ahead and get to Pete. I'm excited that we were able to get Drew's testimony because I think it's gonna connect really well with Pete because I'm really glad that we're getting a second opportunity with him because I really felt like we did him dirty. We didn't do him dirty. It wasn't what we do here at the Help My Unbelief podcast. So let's get to him, Pete. There he is. What's up, Pete?
Yeah, sorry, I had to let my dogs out. I'm back, though.
Did you say dogs?
Yeah, I got to let my dogs out.
Oh, my gosh, dude. Where are you from again?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. He said dog. He has no accent whatsoever until he says the word dog.
We say water. Water here. I can get my bottle of water.
Right on. Okay, so I kind of prefaced. I just was completely honest with the audience here. Obviously, no one's listening to it right now, but whenever we put it out, we felt like we did you a disservice last week. So we're glad we get to speak with you again. So this is take 2, and we're getting a whole do-over. So I'm glad you're here, Pete.
Sure. Same.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go around the room and introduce everybody. We got one extra person in here today. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rounds again. You remember Mark?
Hey, Pete.
Hey, Mark.
Hey.
My lovely wife, Angela.
Hey, Pete.
Hey, Angela.
And my tan and illustriously good-sounding co-host, Larry.
Good to talk to you again, Pete.
Well, until he doesn't clear
Larry.
his throat whenever he's talking. Good to talk to you, Pete. And then we've got Drew here with us today.
Hey, Pete, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Yourself?
Great.
So Drew is a former atheist, by the way. And so he's joining us today. Not a debate podcast like me and Mark was trying to do last week.
Right.
It's
Sorry
more
about
of
that, Pete.
more of an interview style, and then we'll go from there. So okay. So we kind of, this is as far as we got.
We need to bring up the audience.
What?
We need to bring up the audience, just like we don't know all this information about him.
What?
Hey, Pete, how old are you?
That's what I was just about to do, dude.
Okay.
I'm not deep.
It sounded like you were just getting ready to.
I was
right
diving
in.
into. Yeah, I was.
Okay.
I was diving right into the interview.
I thought I was saving us.
That was
My
a
goodness.
dive block, Larry.
Yeah,
Yeah, I grabbed him by the collar of his shirt and pulled him back. Yeah.
dude.
Hold on.
I'm like, dude. You know what we need? You know, in the WWE when they have those like light bulbs that you crack over people's backs, dude. God, I'd love that. To just crack you over it just once a week, dude.
Well, I could go get us a chair and crack it over your
Dude,
head.
I would love that. I feel like it would cure my ailments for like a week, dude. If I just got to crack
it'd probably
some.
take that long for you to come back.
Oh, yeah. Well. Okay, Pete, how old are you?
I'm 19 right now.
Okay. Are you happy, Larry?
Thank you.
Click your pen. All right. Okay, so you're last week. This is about as far as we got in an interview. You're a former Catholic, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
Well, now on Wednesday you said you were 17 years a Catholic, altar boy.
Yeah.
Did we lose him?
Did we lose him?
No, I'm still here.
Okay. Okay. So you became an atheist, right? You became an atheist whenever you got into college. Can you explain to us like what the thought process behind that was?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a biology major. I'm a biology zoology dual major. And although I might switch to maybe secondary education, or I might even go to into like sciences, like evolutionary biology. I don't know. When I started looking at like biological history, evolution, archaeological data, like all this stuff, and especially like my English class where I learned about like logical fallacies and identifying like good writing, sources, credible evidence. I guess I really just took like a scientific writer's worldview, and I kind of adopted that, and I couldn't really fit Christianity into that.
Because of the way the Bible was written, or?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Yeah, it's mostly just the way the Bible is written. Like, I mean, it's just like the historicity of the Bible, the authorship of the Bible, divine inspiration. I just take, some issue with that.
So you also mentioned archaeology in there. What about archaeology turned you away from believing in God?
Well, it's more like, I guess, geology. It's like, I mean, if you look at anywhere in the world, I mean, even in biology, if you look at, if you go to the Nevada desert, there's a bush called King Cloon. It's 12,000 years old. So it obviously predates the Noah's flood, and obviously a bush wouldn't survive that. And not only that, it predates the age of the earth in the biblical texts. So.
Gotcha. So you think if Noah's Ark was a real thing, then it would be you would still be able to have evidence for it on Earth?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it could have been a localized flood, but I still don't really see much merit of being like all the animals on it. I don't know. There's just a lot of
Pete, not to debate, not to debate you, my friend.
Right.
What do you think about the historical texts of all the different ancient civilizations from each different continent, all having a similar story about a mass flood event in their history?
Well, I mean, if you look at the geography of all those locations, they're all built around rivers, and rivers tend to flood pretty often. So, I mean, it would make sense that there would be a flood myth in a lot of these ancient cultures. But, I mean, then again, they're all conflicting on their accounts.
Let me ask Drew real quick, because this is interesting to me, because I've never heard this. So there is similar texts from a bunch of different civilizations, or are they like talking about a big flood all around the same time or something? Or
so of course they're still trying to source out what their actual language was at the time and stuff. But if you look at like through like what we would call probably like hieroglyphics similar to Egyptians, there's other cultures that have different depictions of some great event, whether that's a flood or a different catastrophic event in their history. They all talk about a similar, and they're all about the same timeline, dated to about 12,000 years ago.
Okay. So, by the way, Pete, the reason why I asked Drew to come on today is because I was talking to him on Wednesday night after our interview, and he literally has almost the exact same background as you. Grew up Catholic, and what was your degrees in?
Zoology, chemistry,
and biology. Yeah,
biology, chemistry. Yes.
Yeah. So like you guys like are almost. So I knew you guys would would get into chats here. You guys believe different things, but you guys are into the same stuff. But
yeah, for sure.
so, but I mean, that's what we were talking about like the other day is like all this stuff. There is no way to prove it, right? There's. Well, let me ask you this. Pete. Would you say that there's at least evidence for the flood, or do you don't think, and there's just not sufficient evidence?
For a global flood, there's contradictory evidence. There's zero possibility it could have been an entirely global flood, because that would have completely wiped out marsupials in Australia, and the only reason marsupials are in Australia is because they weren't out competed by placentals, because the continent of Australia drifted away a few million years ago, and placentals haven't been able to reach there. So the only reason that there's kangaroos in Australia, I mean, that pretty much disproves the flood. But local floods, I mean, sure. I mean, there's plenty of evidence that the Tigris and Euphrates constantly flood. And there's also like the Dead Sea. I think that floods every once in a while. The Jordan River floods as well. So does the Nile. So I mean, there's plenty of evidence that there could have been a massive local flood there, but an entirely global flood, absolutely not.
What's the highest point on Earth?
Mount Everest. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on.
Is there
I almost said that.
No, it is. But is there any point anywhere close to that in Australia? I didn't think they had a mountain range down in Australia.
No, it's all. I mean, it's high elevation, but it's all relatively like flat.
This is going to sound real stupid, but is Mount Everest in America?
No, it's in Nepal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, like I keep telling you, and I'm not smart, dude.
No, dude, the college
We got the third
education needs to take
tallest
you.
mountain, though. It's in Alaska.
I'm telling you,
Or actually,
I've
they
tried to
renamed it,
tell you guys. You guys are like, "Oh, you're smart." No, I'm not. I didn't know where Mount Everest was, and that was a serious question.
You have your strengths.
Yeah,
you have your weaknesses.
We just haven't found them yet.
Yeah, just as all of us.
Well, I get it. I get about the whole evidence thing, but like I'm sitting here thinking, like,
all I can remember is as a kid. I mean, we went up and visited some of the mountains here in Colorado. And when you dig, you're a kid, you're going to dig stuff, right? You find seashells on mountains. Why?
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes.
Well, it can be explained with continental drift. So, the crust of the Earth constantly moves. And if you can see that, like, if you look at South America and Africa on a map, they kind of like fit together like a puzzle piece because they used to be one big continent. And as the continents move, the elevation all over changes. So actually, the Appalachian Mountains used to be the tallest mountains in the world. They're shrinking now, and Mount Everest is growing. It's growing because the Indian subcontinent, or the Indian, if you look at the country of India, it actually used to be its own continent. It used to be further down in the Indian Ocean. But recently, it's been pressed up into the Asian plate. And when it smashes into that plate, the magma, it like forces the Earth upwards in like a triangle shape, which is the same reason we have like volcanoes. It's really just the core, or sorry, the
tectonic
the plates of the Earth are like sliding over top of each other.
Okay.
Very slowly. But,
I got a question.
Measurable.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So I remember this from our talk last week, right? And I'm noticing it again this week. You have an answer and a detailed answer for literally everything that we say. Literally. How did you get to that point, and why did you get to that point? Did you get to that point to where you're like, I'm going to go have an answer for everything that someone has to say about this because of Christianity, or was it just because you're just in love with learning things?
Or are you sitting in front of a computer coming up with these answers this fast?
No, he's too passionate about the subject matter. I can tell he's not doing that. He's like I can tell he enjoys talking about this stuff. So yeah.
I've always had a passion for learning, and I probably do have like undiagnosed autism, and I'm just like very like, I don't know. I've always been very interested in history, biological history, geology, and all that. So yeah, I've always just been really interested in
Okay,
it. It's like my passion.
So was it
He's
was it
like my twin brother.
right? So was it
I knew you guys were going to have a lot in common.
so was it your questions that helped that formed this knowledge that you're carrying, this answer? Okay, well, that's the reason that happened. Was it because of your upbringing? Well, okay, if there was a flood, then how does man explain that? Did you go searching for that?
I mean, I really just kind of like, I mean, I was always like in my faith, right? But like, I always like, it was just kind of like a side thing, I guess. I've always been like in pursuit of knowledge my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, faith, if it fits into that, that's great. But really been in search of, I guess, knowledge more.
I
mean,
think
I'd love to fit faith into it, but
I think I get what
that's why I came on.
Mark's asking, and I'm curious about that too. Did you go learning about this stuff because you're like, listen, I don't know if this Christianity crap is true. I need to go look into it, or were you just in the process of learning and then and as a result you fell away from Christianity? Am I making sense? Am I questioning?
Yeah, I was definitely in the process of learning, and it just like I slowly, I guess, degraded my relationship with Christianity.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because you have an answer for literally everything.
So basically, the more knowledge of the world that you gained, the further away from the spirit you went.
Right. Yeah.
Let me. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to test your knowledge real quick. Why do volcanoes have lightning?
Lightning?
You haven't seen it yet?
No, I've not seen that.
Dude, so
At least I
cool.
haven't heard of it.
So cool. I've been seeing it on TikTok videos recently.
Oh, but you
Whenever-
told me nothing on TikTok was right.
Whenever volcanoes explode, they have lightning bolts coming out of them. It's so cool,
it's
dude.
electronic charge.
Well,
we-
that's okay. Come on.
No, look, no. You think lightning comes from the cloud to the ground.
You know what
It comes
causes
from the
what
ground.
causes electricity? An electronic charge.
I'm trying to educate you.
No
Yeah,
way,
pretty much.
dude.
No, listen. You think it comes from the cloud to the ground, but it comes from the ground to the cloud.
Yeah.
That's the connection.
Oh, wow. You know what I mean?
Lightning.
Did you know Mount Everest is in Nepal?
Yes, I did.
Did you really? Cool. Just want to see.
I also know the mountain he's talking about in Australia.
As soon as we
Mount
get off
McKinley.
this interview, Pete, you've got to go
No,
watch.
McKinley's in America.
You've got to go watch some of those videos with the volcano with the lightning. They're so cool. I don't know why
crazy.
they
I
do
didn't
that. And I
know
just
that.
wanted to see if you. Yeah, I didn't either till recently. It's cool.
Crazy.
So
Oh, but also just because like they're really high, and lightning strikes whatever's closest to the
do you?
air. So
Let me ask you this, because you're a very knowledge-based, very practical, very just knowledge-based person. What if there really was a God that desires a relationship with you? Would that not be something that would appeal to you? Let's just say it was true, it was real. There really is a God that wants to have a relationship with you. Is that something that would appeal to you?
absolutely, but I mean that's a really big like if, and I mean I'd love to like, I guess, deepen my relationship with God, but I'd have to see like a quid pro quo for it, right? Like, why should I devote my time to God instead of studying or learning?
Well, if he's real, if it is the truth, don't you think that would be the reason if it was the truth? Just the fact that he's there and he created you with such fine details and stuff like that. He made you the way you are. Wouldn't that be enough?
I mean, sure, I guess, but I mean a lot of that can be explained. Like I don't know how. Like I just can't see that God created me. I mean maybe he influenced some proto cell 4 billion years ago, but I mean I was made by my mommy and my daddy.
So you think that God maybe if God's real, then he spurred into creation, and then he's not active in the world anymore now?
Yeah, sure, but I mean I can't even see like anything breaking the laws. I mean we've never observed it. We don't know that it could happen. I mean it could happen, but there's no evidence to corroborate that.
Yeah. Let me tell you a story real quick. Here it's happened here at this church. A woman came to this women's conference here. I always use this example. I've done it before. I don't know if you've listened to all these episodes or not, but what's that?
Sorry, I was telling Larry Matthew 7:7-8.
So a woman came down here. She had cancer at this women's conference. And a bunch of women came over and prayed and laid hands on her, and she felt a pop in her belly where her cancer was. And then the next week she went back to her doctor, and her cancer was completely gone. And I look at stuff like that, and I start to look at that kind of stuff logically as well, and I start asking myself questions. Like, one of two things has happened, or there's only a few things I should say that's happening, right? Either that woman could be lying, right, about having cancer at all, and she just wanted attention, right? Or our church is lying about that story entirely. They fabricated it. Or it was a coincidence that she got healed right at that moment. Her body just healed it at that moment. Or she was divinely healed by God. Does that make sense? And honestly, the fact that like the one that God healed her is more logically possible to me. Like, it's not very logical. Like, first of all, if my church was lying about it, that would be hard to cover that up, man. Somebody's eventually going to get mad at the church and eventually start telling like, hey, church fabricates stories and stuff like that. And then the other one that would be somewhat likely, her getting healed right on the moment that she's in church like that. That's just too much of a coincidence to me. Or that God healed her. I know you're probably not going to see that same way as me, but how do you see that? Like, if you happened to come to church and you saw that with your very own eyes, would you consider that evidence?
I mean, not really. The same thing happens in mosques, synagogues, temples. I mean, there's been lots of healings all over. I mean, it could just be a coincidence.
Does anybody have an answer for that? Because he said that last week. Does anybody have an answer for that? Like, there are healings in other religions. Like, why is that? Does anybody have any input on that? I don't. Like, I don't know what to say to that.
Yes, did not several times in the Bible where people come across Jesus and said, "Hey, we healed in your name," and he said, "Yes, but I don't know you."
Yeah.
You cast out demons in Christ's name, and he didn't know them.
But he's saying that, like, Hindu people are healed and stuff like that, not in Jesus' name. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's okay to say if nobody has anything. I just didn't know if anybody had any input on that or not. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that question. I get what you're saying with that question, but I don't have an answer to that. But I think I do remember reading a Bible verse where it said that God blesses the unbeliever and the believer alike, right? Like,
the sun shines on the good and evil alike.
Yeah. But yeah. So I don't know about that. Do you see anything, Pete, ever bringing you back to God? Do you ever see that being a possibility in your future?
I mean, I would hope so. I hope that there's a God. I don't know that there is, and until I don't know.
You hope there's a God?
Like, yeah, I mean, I think everyone hopes there's a God.
Why?
Or at least a good God. I mean, who wouldn't want to? I mean, I wouldn't want to live forever, but like, who wouldn't want to? I guess have another chance at life after these 80, 70, 90 so years. Like, I don't know. I think it's just.
Yeah.
I find it hopeful that if there is a God, he's benevolent. And he'd at least give us a choice to live or die.
Well, Pete, God does give you a choice,
right? But I mean,
he spelled it out pretty clearly that if you accept His Son Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, that you'll live with Him forever.
Right, and
right. But I mean, Jesus doesn't give me much evidence to go on based on just like.
Well, what evidence would you need to see in order to? Because you're wondering if Jesus ever put his 2 feet on this planet Earth. Is that what you're concerned about?
I mean, the historical Jesus probably did exist. His divinity can definitely be questioned. I mean, I just don't really. I mean, if it was God's, like, if the Bible was truly like God's written word, I think it would be more credible, because we honestly don't know who wrote the Gospels. Most of the letters are written by Paul or someone acting as Paul in Paul's name. And I just think that, like, if God was, I don't know, more present. I mean, the Bible is good, but it's not entirely falsifiable, and there's a lot of missing historical evidence to back the claims of the Bible. Like, if God was true, I mean, why wouldn't he put, like, billboards every 10 feet that are indestructible and he can write a message on it at any time? Like, why write a book 2,000 years ago that hasn't really changed in the past 1,000 years?
Hey, Pete, I appreciate those. This is Mark. I appreciate those questions. And you know what's amazing to me? I've got this philosophy, and I want you to tell me what you think of it. I think that each and every one of us are created with a hole that only God can fill. And we search and we search, and we hope. I loved what you said is I hope there's a God. But this yearning for knowledge, things, people, emotional security, sex, drugs, all different kinds of things. Some people take bad things and stuff in that hole. Some people take, I guess, quote, good things and try to put in there. I know for my own life, I never could find a piece that fit. So I'm kind of curious about, it's interesting to hear you talk at 19 years old. I remember 19. And I probably would have been right there beside you, and we'd have had some really deep philosophical, and historical talks. But as I moved through life, I realized that whole, all the things I kept pursuing and I kept thinking would explain things for me didn't, and the hole was still there. And it sounds like you've got the same one. Do you think it's possible we could have been genetically engineered to seek out and know and search for and try to develop a relationship with our Creator?
I definitely do think that there's an inbuilt search for something greater. I think that's partially what gives humanity, I guess, a drive.
Right.
It's definitely evolutionarily beneficial. I don't think it, was created, or at least there's no evidence to say that it was created. It's evolutionarily beneficial because if you, I guess, take two different tribes of apes, like if you ever watched 2001: A Space Odyssey, where the two apes are fighting over a puddle of water. If you take two tribes, right, and one tribe is just there, and they're both, like, I guess, like, lined up in a line. One's going to be like, okay, well, if I die, I'll go to heaven and I'll live a happy afterlife in Valhalla, or whatever they believe in. And the other line is like, if I die, that's it. I definitely think that, like, there's a drive, and that party would probably be more likely to fight and win without running away. So it's definitely, like, a benefit to believe in an afterlife. It's a hope. But I don't think it necessarily makes it true. I mean, it's definitely great to search for God. I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling here.
Well, so more specifically,
Thank you for that.
More specifically, he's basically saying that he believes that there's a hole that only God can fill, and that maybe true peace can't be achieved without God. And that is what's built in us, not the idea of religion, not going to church, not not seeking success on earth or anything like that, but literally seeking God. You will not be 100% fully content without filling that hole with God. I know you're 19, and this would probably be hard to answer for you because I know I probably couldn't answer that. I mean, you're still trying to find yourself in general. Right. But would you say that you have total 100% peace?
I mean, not total 100%, but those things aren't out of my control. Like I'd love to be a millionaire. I'd be pretty peaceful if I was a millionaire. But
you'll figure out that later. Yeah,
right.
Just let you take your misery to nicer destinations. That's it.
Yeah,
you'll find that comes with a whole nother set of problems.
I'd rather have big money problems than broke problems. That's for sure.
Sorry, Pete. I appreciate what you're saying. Go ahead.
But I mean, I feel like I don't need. At least I don't at this moment in my life. I don't feel like I need God. I feel like all my answers or all my questions can be answered by science, or at least 99.6%. There's like maybe 3 that we don't have 100% certainty of.
Oh man, guys, what would be awesome is if we could do a documentary and just follow Pete for the next 30 years.
I know.
Yeah,
and then condense it down and watch as he moves through life, different levels of life.
Well, like the Truman Show?
Yeah, just like that. That would be that
fly on the wall.
Or we could just jump to age 33.
Yeah,
there he is.
Yeah, or we could.
Yeah, we got Pete at 33 right here. But that's the thing. Like, I think I would like to talk to Pete in 5 years to see where it's at because you sound like a very gentle individual, and you seem like you're very like open-minded. And I think you've probably gotten around some people in college that has that's what you in college as well was kind of leaning towards that atheistic mindset as well, right?
100%.
But
but you said that college really didn't turn you away from God, though.
No, it wasn't so much college. It was just the continual gaining of knowledge. I feel like that knowledge, now that I've had a few more years under me, helps me explain things a lot differently today than it did when I was 18, 19 years old.
So you appreciate you going and looking for knowledge, right? Mm-hmm. You appreciate it, but you just view that knowledge differently now.
Yeah, totally. And the main difference is, and this is just for me, Pete, it's not any putting anything on you, but at the same time, even with all that search of knowledge, and the struggle I went through as well, could have saved myself a world of pain and a lot of other people in my life a lot of pain if I had God in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Pete, you don't do drugs, do you?
No, I don't even drink either.
Okay, good. Don't do drugs.
You're gonna
stick to that.
You're gonna save yourself a whole lot of trouble. Just stay away from that.
And money. You may be a millionaire before you know it. Not doing drugs.
Yeah. Right there. You're proving you're smarter than the rest of us.
Right.
Don't do drugs, okay?
What's your vice? What's your vice, Pete?
My vice?
Yeah. What's your bugaboo? What do you like? What's your vice? Everybody's got a vice. What's yours?
Bugaboo.
I'm sorry, I don't like that word either.
Knowledge.
Knowledge, yeah.
That's Pete's.
Learning's your vice, yeah? Well, I mean, I could see that. You get addicted to learning, kind of, yeah.
Let me. Can I throw a verse at you?
Yeah, they're called professors. They've given a lot of money to learn a lot of things.
Yeah. Don't throw the verse at him.
No. I'm getting ready to address something. Pete, what if you took that thirst for knowledge and turned it toward learning about God? In Matthew 7:7, it says, "Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds. And to him who knocks, the door will be open." If you took that same drive to find and explain God, you would be amazed at what happened in your life. And
there's definitely some overlap there. Like I did, like this summer specifically. I had knee surgery at the beginning of the summer, so I couldn't really find a summer job in time. And by the time I was healed, everything was already taken. So I pretty much been just stuck at home the whole summer. And I mean, I've been doing like odd jobs like dog sitting and stuff, but for the most part, I've just been like, I guess, soul searching and furthering my scientific knowledge. And I mean, I've definitely tried to find overlap, and it really hasn't. I haven't found anything.
When's the last
Like,
time you prayed?
I guess seeking. I don't know, probably 3 years ago.
Have you ever like went just in private? Have you ever just like talking to God, like in your head or anything? Have you ever prayed like just where you're like, yo, I like try to like have a relationship with Him in that way, like outside the Bible, outside of religion, outside of the Catholic Church, outside of whatever church you've gone to? Have you ever just prayed?
One-on-one conversation.
Not really, and I really don't like. I don't know. I just feel like like if I can't empirically see God, I don't know. I mean, I could try it. I'll try it. But
Oh well, you know that's all. That's
really
all. That's all I tell people. I tell people this all the time because you know I interview people that don't believe every week. We all do, and that's something that I tell people to say is like you don't ever have to tell me or anything, but like I know whenever I was a kid and growing up, my relationship with God was developed through prayer, and He would show Himself in my life through that. He would put little things showing me that He was there and He heard me. It's kind of like that. What is that? What is that? Zacchaeus or whatever?
Yeah.
That
the tax collector that climbed up in the tree.
Yeah, where
little bitty man.
And then Jesus came around and talked to him, and He said something that made Zacchaeus see that Jesus saw him when he was praying on the tree or whatever, on the whatever tree. And so,
right. I guess my question is like, why doesn't, like, I'm not even in that tree, but like, why wouldn't, I guess, God come and find me anyway? Like, even if I'm not in the tree, why wouldn't He, I guess, show me any?
Well, see, God's omnipresent, so we believe God's in this conversation right now.
Dude, He sent a podcast to you, bro.
I guess. But
Here's your sign.
Yeah, it's like
he's not showing me what I want to see at least.
Ah, yeah.
What you want to see.
That. Hey, you know what,
right,
Pete?
What I want to see.
I really appreciate your open-mindedness and saying, you know, if there is a God, and if you're willing to say that prayer, and you know, there's been times in my life where I've said, hey, God, I don't mean this. I don't mean this at all, but I'm doing it anyway. And, you know, made a request, you know, prayed for somebody that I really didn't like at all. And I told God I didn't mean it. But He revealed Himself through that process. And it wasn't immediate, but looking back, I can see it was an answer to that prayer. You know, maybe you tried that experiment. You're a scientist. Maybe you tried that experiment. Just ask
here's
God,
what
if you're real, man, show me, prove it to me.
Yeah, I've asked that like probably 5 times.
Not that.
Have you?
I want you to say something different. I want you to say, show me what you need me to do to start my process in believing in you.
Yeah.
That's what I want you to pray. I want you to say, but I want you to do it sincerely. Say, God, I'm here. I want you to show me what I need to do to start in the process. And then God is a good God, and He will show you what you need to do to go through that. And then you're just going to have to decide whether you want to do it or not. And then it's a multi-step process. It goes on for years and years and years, and your life will most likely get harder. The path is narrow. But, dude, I got to say, I feel a lot better in this. Maybe my energy was off in the last episode, but I felt just maybe I was in a bad mood or something, so I apologize for that. But I got to say, dude, I feel so much better in this episode. And you're the same guy. You're the same guy that I interviewed last week. So, and I can just see how cool your demeanor is and how, like, open-minded you are, where you're searching for knowledge, and I see where your heart's at. You just want the truth, and that's what you're searching for. And so far,
empirical. What do they call
empirical evidence?
Empirical evidence. Yep. Yeah, that's what you're looking for.
And it's just led you down a different path so far. But I got to say, I admire what you're doing, man, and it's really cool. So you don't have a job right now, or you had leg surgery, right?
Yeah, left knee arthroscopy, and I was kind of out of commission for about a month, but I'm back now.
You're looking for a job?
Like a week from today, so.
Oh, nice.
Sorry, a month from today, but yeah.
I was like, you can come sell roofs in Oklahoma, bro.
I'd love to.
Hey, did you tell us what your major was? Did he tell us?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Biology.
Biology. So how many more years you got left, Pete? 3?
I just finished my freshman year, so
Freshman?
yeah, 3.
And what are you planning on doing with that degree?
I'm not sure yet. I might go into evolutionary biology and get my master's, maybe do a PhD, do research. But I also really would love to just become like a high school biology teacher.
That'd be cool.
It really just depends on like, financials and effort, and I'd be happy doing either. But I definitely love to do something in that area.
Drew, didn't you say something about evolutionary biology?
Yeah, I mean, I took all those same courses when I did my undergrad.
Yeah. Did evolution pull you away from the idea of God? Did that teaching specifically pull you away from God?
It played into it. I look at it totally differently. Yeah, today I believe.
Do you believe in evolution?
Not in the way that our understanding of evolution is today. No.
What about you, Pete? Do you believe we evolved from apes?
100%.
Okay, I just got a question for you then, because I don't know.
Well, actually, no, I don't believe that we evolved from apes. I believe we evolved from great apes and a common ancestor of.
Okay, because I was going to say, I've always had one question to that, like, why do apes still exist if we evolved from apes?
Oh, yeah, easy answer. So, have you ever seen, like, a family tree? We're not, like, the brothers of apes, right? We didn't just pop out one day and it's like, oh, here's a human, here's an ape. We're distant cousins. So you could go all the way back to the grandfather, or like the great-great-great-grandfather, and if you look at the great-great-great-grandfather, it probably looks more like a cross between like a dog and a monkey. And if you keep going down, obviously that's not around anymore today because all the common ancestors die out. But if you look at the branches, like you can see like we all evolved from that general species. But if you look at like the family tree, like all the aunts, or sorry, not the aunts, no, like the grandparents, they're all extinct now, and now it's just the cousins that are left. But they all branch back to one common ancestor, and really it boils down to the definition of evolution being change in allele frequency over time, which basically just says like, it's not like getting stronger, getting better, getting smaller. It's really just change in your genome, like your DNA sequence.
You're taught
over time,
random mutations throughout time.
I mean, yeah, it's random.
And so the world would have to be millions of years if that was the case, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Fair enough. Okay. So, we are at 1:13, and I'm scared that we're going to go way long if we don't start doing the rounds now because we have extra people in studio. So, towards the end of the episode, we do rounds. We go around the table, and we just say our closing phrase. And because you're our guest, you get the final say. And we always start with Mark. Mark, it is your turn.
Oh, hey man, it was great talking with you. I don't know. I was just listening to that and just remembering back, taking a couple of years of college, being that age. And I'm not trying to be ageist. I know as we get older, we start talking about everybody's age. It's because we're all dying.
Right. I hated that too when I was young. I was like, you don't know me.
Oh man, I wish I was 19 again. So many things I'd done different. But man, I appreciate you. And what I really appreciate about you is you got a little bit of God needs to prove he's God to me. I remember that. I remember going through a big phase in life where I was like, I don't know what kind of sadist writes this, does all these things in the Bible. I don't know, you guys ever watch The Devil's Advocate? The movie with Al Pacino?
Yeah. Back in the day I did.
Yeah. The rampage Al Pacino goes on at the end? Yeah. The look but don't touch. This
I don't remember
angry rant at God. Al Pacino calls him a sadist. It's like I hear that rant over and over again from many what does he call himself? Atheists, and Satanists. This rant about how, cruel God is, how ridiculous his tenets are. Why'd he do it this way? What kind of person does that? And I remember a lot of my own arrogance and judgmentality, and in doing that. And, I detect not a whole lot of that from you. I detect from you is that, you're just a man seeking. And man, if you're seeking, that's a beautiful thing. And,
Yep.
an open mind is a beautiful thing. Right now you've made your decision, and that's your decision. And, but man, I like the fact that you're open to evolution, because we can evolve, in our thinking. And, I just have a lot of hope in my heart that God leads you through a process, that he does reveal himself to you. I hope you say Zach's prayer, and, and just see what happens. And, I guess that's all I got. Thanks.
Okay, Larry?
I'm going to repeat the verse that I gave you on Wednesday when we taped, and that's Psalm 24. The earth is the Lord's, and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. For he founded it upon the seas and established it upon the waters. Everybody on this planet, regardless of what they choose to believe or not, belong to God. That's really the final say on it. I would ask you to read the prayer that David wrote in Psalms 25. And I won't read it here now, but go into Psalms 25 and really look at it and read it and say it to God with conviction behind it. I'm praying that he opens up your eyes and removes the scales that you have right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely I can't betray, logic, reason, the core tenets of our reality, in favor of God. But I do hope that, he can come along and fit into those guidelines of our reality. So, yeah.
There you go. Okay, Drew?
Yeah, Pete, I appreciate you being here, and I see a lot of myself in you, man. Always keep that passion for seeking. I think it's a great asset. You sound like a very intelligent man, but don't forget that, God works in ways that we're not privy to, and that's due to the fact that he is an all-powerful and ever-present God in our lives. And so sometimes we can place expectations upon God that we have no business putting expectations on, because he's the one who gave us everything that we have. So I'll be praying that you find all the answers that you are seeking for. That's what I'll pray for you. And I just appreciate it. I will say, learning is great. Just don't have paralysis by analysis. Sometimes God has given us innate gifts in order to feel things in our lives. And not everything is always so analytical. So that's all I have.
Far out, man.
Okay.
Appreciate you, Pete.
Okay, my turn. Yay! I've been waiting this whole time. Okay. So I want to just get practical with you about my relationship with God and give you an opportunity to, if, like I said, dude, if you do this, you ain't got to tell me. I don't need no credit for this. It all goes back to God anyway. But I would want you to pray for God to say, God, show me what I need to do. Show me what I need to do to start my journey into following you or seeking you or finding you. And I'm telling you, he's going to show you something, and he's going to give you a task, and you're going to have to decide whether you're going to do it or not. God's given me a task right now that I've been sitting on for about 6 months that I've been telling him no on. So it doesn't matter how seasoned you are as a Christian or how new you are. We have to learn how to submit to God whenever he reveals himself. And then it doesn't matter how many cool things he shows you, you're still going to question if he exists. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, my question is like, why can't I just say it without conviction? Because I mean, there's obviously confirmation bias, and humans are privy to patterns. So I mean, we find patterns in like everything. Like we just find like if you ever heard of numerology, it's a pseudoscience where basically people look in like the Bible and they're like, oh, the end is near because Isaiah 22 is written 22 and there's like 20 words in it, so the world must end in 2022. And it's just like,
well, let me answer your question real quick.
Patterns, and if you're in the mindset of looking for those patterns, obviously something's gonna show up.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, why do I have to like pray for it? Why can't I just like I've asked God without prayer to reveal himself, but I don't really see it because I'm not in that mindset.
Well, it says in the Bible to continuously work out your salvation, continually do it. And so it's not just something you do one time. It's to be something you have to continue to do over and over again, like and have to grow in your relationship with God. And then you're going to be fighting an invisible enemy as well that's trying to take you to another area as well. I know you don't believe the same things as me, but I'm just telling, this is what I believe. This is what I see happening in my own life. So it doesn't matter what you do. You're always going to be fighting these things. It's just your choices will change. You're going to choose to follow. And I know I said that earlier, and I said that you've got to mean it when you say it. And as soon as I said that, I was like, but do you? Sometimes we pray and God answers no matter what, because like I've acted like a complete turd head before while I was praying, and God still came through with his promises with me. And so I don't know if it matters if you mean it or not, but might be something you try. But I don't know. I don't know, man. Like I said, it's just sometimes I feel kind of silly explaining stuff to atheists like this when I start explaining this spiritual stuff, but it's like it is my experience. And you seem like let me say this. You seem like a really cool cat, like a dude that I would hang out with and chill with and talk about life with out on a balcony looking at mountains and stuff. And I think we'd enjoy ourselves. And I think you're a really good guy. And I just hope you continue on the path you're on. I know that your energy seems really cool. And I just hope you continue being that kind and nice person. But we're at 123, so the floor is yours, bud.
Yeah, again, I mean, I really hope that, I can find, I guess, God, if he is real, in my life somehow. I hope he comes to me, because, if God was, I guess, all loving and all good and all powerful, I do think he would come to me, even if I didn't, pray to him per se. And I'm definitely open. I'm listening. I'm an open receiver. Just waiting on that radio transmission to pop in.
Hold on. I don't want to interrupt. I know this is your point, but I want to say something because I asked this question in the intro, but you were, Drew was an atheist, and I asked him this question earlier. I just want to make sure because I don't know if you'll listen to this whole show or not. You may not, but Drew, you said that you saw where God was communicating with you while you were an atheist. Now that you're making a practice of it, you're like, oh, God was with me even back then of trying to communicate with you and stuff. Is that true?
Yeah, 100%. So it's all perspective and kind of what you're seeking out in your life and what mindset you're putting yourself into.
Yeah, Drew, can I ask how, specifically God was communicating with you?
Specifically, looking back or currently?
Yeah, looking back, at the time. How did you find signals or whatever?
As far as if you're wondering if I've ever had God come sit on my couch and talk to me, no, I have not. But I do believe that we are all created in God's image and all connected in that way. So I hear things. So people in my life that I've encountered, I've communicated with God with. I have communicated with God, or God has shown himself to me through saving my life a few times in struggles with drug addiction, even when I didn't know it at the time. And that's how I feel like God has worked in my life, getting me through some really tough, like, mental health issues in my life. So those are the ways I think we get stuck on, that communication is only verbal or something that we can see. But I truly do believe communication, there's forms of communication that are not understandable just through the five senses.
Signs, wonders, dreams, visions, stuff like that. Like the visions are a little more in your face and stuff like that. I've never heard the audible voice of God. But usually when it's God speaking to you, he confirms it, like with signs and stuff like that. Like I know he always confirms it. I mean, I don't want to go over the story of the bird again, but you could go back and listen to the last episode. It's a really long story, but yeah, there's a lot of things that God speaks through, and I really do think he does with you too. It's just whether you realize it or not. So, but I stole your time, bro. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to bring that up. Go ahead with your thing.
No, it's fine. Yeah, as I said, I'm still, I guess, open to signs or whatever, but until then, I'm probably just going to keep living my life the way I live it. I live a pretty moral life. I mean, I'm an Eagle Scout. I still abide by pretty much all the tenets of the Scout Law and Scout Oath. So, I'm a pretty, I guess, moral character. I don't like to hurt anyone.
Yeah.
I try my hardest not to. I try not to take as many risks as I can.
I get that from you. I'm the same way.
Now.
And I mean, I just don't really see, like, I don't know. I guess the only gripe I have with, like, religion, and I guess it's just sin, and it's like, like, why does God care that I eat shellfish? Or why does he care about,
Mark said that same thing.
Yeah.
Mark used to be pissed at God because when he had pork, he would be like, "Why would God not want me to eat this? This is awesome." And Mark was the same way.
Yeah, the crisis of faith we go over that one.
Yeah.
But,
so yeah, we identify with you.
Yeah, that's really the only gripe I have with it. But I mean, if that's the law, I mean, God can prove it to me, then I guess I'll agree.
There you go.
Then I'll still live a pretty moral life, and I'll be pretty happy. I'll try my best.
Yeah, that's all we can ask for. Okay. Thank you so much for coming on, Pete. I appreciate you, brother. I hope this was a better experience for you this time.
Yeah, definitely.
So, okay. All right, brother. Episode comes out next Tuesday at 9 a.m. I'll have some quicker editing to do this time. So thank you. Thank you for coming on, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, bye.
So, Drew, what you're saying is the old premise of hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah. I think it's pretty clear.
that's always the way I see God. I can never see him when it's happening. It's always in reverse. Everything, I can always see it.
God has made me pretty oblivious in my life for how much education I have. So it usually goes right here. And then, oh yeah.
Not me. It's pretty much like they used to how it worked, but now it's like in the moment, and I don't know.
Yeah, he talks to you differently, Zach.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's happening in the moment, and I don't know. It's like, what the heck else does he's got to do to prove? But I also have this I feel like there's this a lot stronger opposition that comes with that as well.
Right.
Like I have a very, very, that's why that Will the Trucker, I know you're listening to this, you little turd. Will the Trucker said that I'm a future atheist in my comments. He's been talking about it for a couple of days now. And I called you a turd. I'll say it louder, you're a turd.
He's just wishful thinking.
But anyway, The thing is I think the thing, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to go there. I'm not doing it. Okay. I'm not doing it. I'm going to back out. Okay. So, but here's the deal. I recognize what's pulling me away, trying to make me an atheist is of a spiritual descent. I recognize that. I recognize that clear as a bell. There is something strongly that doesn't want me to be a Christian. And it's not my own thoughts convincing me. I'm not that smart, okay? I've told you guys
You've proven that.
I've told you guys every spiritual experience I've ever had on this show. I've never hid one from you. And it's obvious that God is speaking to me, right? But so is Satan.
Yeah.
Like, and he is trying to take me away from Christianity. And it's wild, man. It's wild. And I can see it plain as day.
What would he benefit, Satan, if you walked away from Christianity at this time?
I mean, this whole ministry would be uprooted. So, yeah.
And then everyone that ever watched this would say,
look
see,
at
I told you.
You know, yeah, it was just a matter of
just
time.
another faker.
That's
Just
right.
another faker.
Anyone we ever touched, would be
Yeah.
like, yeah. Some people would probably deconvert with me, honestly, yeah. But yeah, that's never going to happen. Honestly, it's like, I mean, it's hard. Like, I know with those spiritual signs that I get from God, it also gets like, I can tell I get harder spiritually attacked than other people. And I don't want that. I don't like that crap, man. It's a lot of pressure. You know what I mean? It feels like a lot of pressure. Most of the time, like, I don't even want to be in this, you know, like, I don't know how to explain it.
Drew,
man.
how do you make a diamond?
Pressure.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of pressure.
Pressure raining down on me.
What was it?
Who's that?
I don't have it.
Oh,
It's
I know
Queen.
who that.
That's all right.
I thought it was
Da, da, da.
Pressure. You're right. It's Queen.
Yeah.
We won't talk about that. I'm going to read a verse to you, Drew. Okay?
Yes.
And now you have a different mindset than you did before. See if this speaks to you.
Is it the dogs one? Don't read him the dogs verse.
It's Matthew 7:15. Watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. By their fruit you will recognize them. Do people pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit.
He always pauses for 30 minutes to gather his thoughts after he reads a verse.
Sounds like college professors.
Yeah.
Boom! Thank you. I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say that.
Right.
You know, we see that term false prophet as preachers that are preaching outside the realm.
Right.
Okay, that are not actually following the word of God when they preach.
Oh.
And I think that's something that we need to actually see. Our kids are being led away.
Not only are they deconstructing God, they're deconstructing our society
And our family unit.
and our families. That's right.
Linda was talking last week after we left here. He's saying he went to college for a little bit, like in his elder stages or whatever. And he said his first day in college, he walked into a class and the professor was like started saying God wasn't real and that, and he like that minute, the first thing that came out of his mouth was that, like,
Wow.
Well, and we can talk about this. We're going down a little hole here, but like the education system as a whole in the United States, if you look back, I mean, was never designed to keep your child from 7 a.m. till 4 p.m.
Right.
School was just your basic classes. You were there for a little bit, and your parents did most of your educating, and then you were working most of the time.
yeah. And then
But during the Industrial Revolution, then right after, what did the United States need? They needed
babysitters.
No, they needed workers.
Yeah.
So the school system wasn't designed to create anyone who could think outside for
'Cause you were
themselves.
supposed to-
Formative
School
mills.
yeah,
You're supposed
the
to do what your parents are doing. You go to school for
they
half
were
a day.
training you to work under them to make them money.
Right.
Yeah.
They needed sheep to produce money for them. That's where the education system in the United States really came from. The Rothschild, all that. So you can look into it.
Yeah.
The United States government has put out that all these big companies, they needed workers to
You
fill
really
their-
don't think of motive behind things like that because you're born into it and it's just such a normal part of what you do.
Right, but they are coming out in our face. They are trying to indoctrinate your kids at an earlier and earlier and earlier.
I know. I remember
And when I went through school, it was the basics, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So, we learned, but mom made sure that we followed up.
Yeah, I remember. Me and Keegan went to a daddy's daughter's dance. She's 13 now. This is a couple years ago, maybe even 3 years ago. But we went to a daddy daughter dance, and we were sitting in our truck. We didn't really want to go in yet, so we're sitting in a truck. And this girl, her age, 11 or so, walked in front of us, and she had like a really skimpy dress on, and like it was very uncomfortable looking. And I go, "Whoa!" And she goes, "What?" My daughter said that. She goes, "What?" She's just expressing herself. And I was like, I said some things. I was like, "Nah, she's expressing her butt cheeks or something like that's what she's doing. Like that's not expressing yourself." And I started to get angry, and I knew that she would have got defensive if I did that. And I said, and I just broke down. I told her the truth. I said, "I know you heard that at school, and I know that's what you're being taught. But that is not expressing yourself. The only reason you would wear clothing like that is if you were wanting to attract male attention to yourself.
Right.
You have a body, and maybe you even have a nice body, but that's for your husband someday. That's not for everyone to see. What is the purpose for showing people your body other than to have males be attracted to you? There is no other reason." I said, so the fact that she said that, I know you're not a bad person. I know you're just saying that because you mimic that, but she heard that at school. There's these excuses of why it's okay to do things like that now. And it's because you're expressing yourself. No, you're showing people your butthole. That's what you're doing.
Boy, that was a skimpy dress. I mean, that's
Right,
like really
yeah.
skimpy.
Yeah.
But
I was being a little too graphic there,
Yeah,
but that's pretty
very much
much.
so.
Okay, yeah. Did I
With that,
did I take you off guard there? So
well, as a dad with 3 daughters and a grandpa with 2 granddaughters, I don't want to think that way.
I know it's crazy, man. It's like I just want to teach her to dress modestly, and that's not expressing yourself. It's not okay to do that, you know. But it's so hard being 2023 and having a daughter and trying to teach her that. But
I understand that, but the amazing thing is like when Darcy and I first started coming to church, some of the shorts she wore were so short, and I knew because I was raised in church, you know, I knew the implications, and I could see the looks from some of the women here, you know, but they didn't say anything. They didn't say anything.
that's good.
That's
yeah.
one thing about this church is that they all of us. I mean, I don't think there's any of us out here in this church that haven't walked the wrong walk for a while.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yep.
it's amazing. I want to say the level of judgment isn't at this church as much as in churches that I have experienced in the past. And the problem was that they were wrong about that. But what you said was actually the correct way. Society has built it up that a woman is to be looked at, to be lusted after. But the Bible says that if you lust after her, you've already committed an adultery with her.
Mm-hmm.
And if a woman or even a man, so I can stay out of that trouble, dresses inappropriately and draws attention to themselves, then they are putting a stumbling block in front of others.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to get a lot of hate for that one. But anyway, I get what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you, man. I agree. I don't think it's expressing yourself. I don't think it's art. I think it's not okay. Okay. Before we get out of here, what's one thing that you would say to anyone who's an atheist right now, since you're a former atheist, why do you think God put you on this podcast today? What is the message that you think God wanted you to get out today?
That if you truly sit down and stop and seek for him, he'll find you.
Yeah.
But it's not his job. I mean, it's not his job to seek you out. God, for me, God loved us so much that he gave us free will. And the definition of free will is that the onus is on us to search.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear a lot of people like Pete said that he needs to come to me and show me, and it's the other way. Like, you're going to have to do some stuff.
Yeah.
And I like what you said earlier. I don't remember how you put it, but sometimes you got to put all that knowledge aside and just look for the reality of the situation, the truth, right?
Yeah.
So anybody got anything else to say?
I find it extremely interesting that knowledge tends to lead people away from God. What was the fruit of the first tree?
Yeah. We talked about that before. That's crazy.
It was the knowledge of truth,
the
good
tree
and
of
evil.
knowledge of good and evil. Yeah.
Well, and what we call knowledge today too is worldly knowledge,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it talks about all the time, right? Like we have to be able to live in the world, but we don't have to live of the world.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's
Yep.
good.
There you go.
That's good.
Okay. Thanks everybody for watching, listening. I appreciate it. Larry, say your thing.
Jesus loves you, and so do I.
Okay. We love you guys. We are out.
I'll take you home.
Thank you so much for listening to the Help My Unbelief podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And more importantly, tune in every Tuesday at 9 a.m. for new episodes.